It's a different world that we're emerging into. Now, the theme of the conference is accelerating your agility. The first day, the speakers will be addressing the numbers and providing the numbers, the actual forecast numbers on the economy and construction markets. I mean, Peter Hall, we've had him speak a number of times from the Export Development Corporation, and he brings a world perspective to what's going on, and he's usually optimistic. David Schoonjans, he'll be talking about some specific construction markets, type of structure markets like office buildings and light industrial and warehouse work and so on. He'll also have a lot to say, I'm sure, about availability of materials and labor and what's going on in terms of costs as well. And then we have a speaker who'll be talking about commodity prices. And I always say that commodities are hugely important for construction. The first part of day 2 is a panel to look at one of the subjects that's been out there for a long time. Part of increasing construction costs is shortages. During the course of the 2-day sessions, we'll be talking about material input costs and shortages and so on. But there's also the long-standing issue that seems to have been made worse by the pandemic. That panel session, Bill Ferreira will be talking about the numbers, like just exactly what are the numbers that are required and so on. But then two obvious solutions are modular construction, and we have a terrific fellow will be speaking on that subject. Esposito, who's based out of Chicago, and he's been following the move towards modular construction. It's Lindsay Kearns, who will be talking on the subject of trying to get more women involved in construction. And of course, modular is part of that. And then the rest of the morning is David Coletto, who is an expert on societal trends. So he'll be talking about what we want coming out of the pandemic, along the lines of what are our choices going to be? Do we, and I talk about the collective we, do we want to live in downtown cores? Do we want to live in big cities? Or has the trend really shifted towards liking a more rural lifestyle, which is maybe fits in with what people want in terms of their work-life balance? And they didn't think they'd be able to achieve it, but some people have actually achieved that as one of the offshoots, one of the surprisingly good offshoots of the pandemic, if you can say anything good about the pandemic. The other speaker in the afternoon is Mark Milk, who will be talking about a sector in Canada, and I'll be talking about this as well. My comments and his, I think, will be complementary. There's a sector of Canada that has been largely ignored and forgotten about over the last decade, and that has been resources. All the focus has been on high technology, but you got to understand how Canada really works. If you look at the trade statistics for Canadian raw materials, potash, lumber, and oil and gas, there's about a dozen key commodities, key raw materials that Canada has a trade surplus in. And if there's an increase in demand for raw materials and an increase in prices, that translates directly to gross domestic product. And the other thing is the whole shift towards decarbonization and how that is going to impact the cost structure. It's I don't want to give things away before we get to the discussion, but it's kind of hard to see how you can push for decarbonization and what that means in terms of investments and different and new processes and so on, and how you can get costs down. So I think we're headed for a regime of higher costs. So that'll be what I'll be talking about. This is not a normal cyclical recovery. You can't just assume that things are going to be the same this time coming out of a deep downturn. Last year was just horrible in terms of the statistics. it's not going to be the same. There's going to be a lot of shifts, and to be successful, you're going to have to be aware of what those shifts are.